Apple TV Plus, Bad Sisters, has 2 episodes left to go in its 2nd season, which involves several new wild card characters in a murder mystery different from that of season 1. 2 years after the first season of the dark comedy, Grace Williams, Amory Duff, née Grace Garvey, and soon-to-be Riley, has found a new love, but traces of her dead husband John Paul, Clay's Bang, who the other 4 Garvey sisters call the Prick, still threaten to overturn the peace that the 5 siblings, particularly Grace, have found since his death, which drove the plot of the first season. Creator Sharon Horgan, who stars as eldest Garvey sister Eva, spoke in the below interview with Deadline about shaping season 2, the tragic death early on in the season, and how she wanted to differentiate the 2nd installment from the first. Her thoughts on a 3rd season can also be found below. Deadline. What, if anything, did you learn from season 1 and take and employ in season 2? Sharon Horgan. Well, just everything about it, I suppose. Just the whole thing, because I hadn't worked in that space before at all. I'd come from sitcom world, which is half-hour and 2 laughs on every page. I think my stuff always had a drama slant to it. It's always interested in exploring darker or trickier material, for sure, but it taught me everything. How you sustain story over hour-long episodes, and how you pass out the thrills and the spills. Writing for quite a large ensemble cast, writing for 5 female leads in the long haul. I was used to these really short filming periods. When we would make a sitcom in the UK, it's like 7 weeks, and then you're done. It's that stamina that you need to have. Deadline. How did approach the dynamic between the Garvey sisters, and how they each have their new obstacles this season. Horgan. Well, I guess just giving the story a 2-year break. Like taking Eva, for example, we really put her through the ringer in season 1, but at the end, she gets to tell her family a secret that's been ruining her life for the last 10 years, and it was so painful, but I figured there would be some weight lifted and some sort of resetting of herself and her life. I kind of used everything that season 1 gave me. Ursula, Eva Berthisel and her ennui and needing something else, how Bibi, Sarah Green with Nora, Yasmin Akram. Their family was backgrounded while she tried to work things out for Grace, and Becca, Eve Hewson, meeting someone who became so important to her so quickly. And what do you do when that's gone? Who replaces that? And Grace meeting someone who she thinks is the love of her life, but really she's somebody who was so isolated for so many years and so damaged and so vulnerable that she's just sort of open to being taken advantage of, and so full of shame that she can't really be open with her sisters. She's so used to holding it all in. All of these things just fed into all the new dynamics, and then once you have all of those, you run with it. But then the story is impacting on every single thing you do. Every choice that the sisters have made, the choices that the Prick made in the first season, end up impacting on them in one way or another. And then, of course, we had the really open wound of Grace's death. That changes everything, and it changes how you approach things. Ava would never have let her heart be open to what happened with Ian if she hadn't been so wounded. She needs to feel something that isn't just pain. And so I think it's the same for all of them. The impact of that and the pain of that. But then also there's this whole thing of I just suffered a bereavement myself right about the time that we were making the show. It seemed to me that with my brothers and sisters, we didn't stop trying to make each other laugh. There's a crack of light in all of those dark moments. That was something that I knew would help propel it, so it wasn't a grief fest, which I didn't want it to be. I wanted it to be a sort of a real look at how bad things can get when you've been in a situation like that, when you've been isolated like that, and what happens when another trauma comes along.